Hey everyone, Cell here. In the coming PoE patch, they are finally adding the all damage can poison node for Assassin that has been in Ruthless for a while, as people have been asking, on top of some other updates to Assassin, but that is the most interesting one, I think. So I thought it was worth discussing and explaining a little bit. So, for starters, Poison as an ailment deals 30% of your combined physical and chaos damage of a given hit per second for 2 seconds, so a total of 60% of the base hit damage. However, that hit damage is not necessarily the damage of the hit that deals the poison. There's a little bit of complexity as far as that goes, but know that what it cares about is your base damage and not the damage dealt by the hit, which is why things like lucky damage do not affect poison or ignite or bleeding damage. They just have no effect whatsoever. Even though you're on average hitting harder, that doesn't necessarily mean you're inflicting harder ailments because it's a separate calculation. But it is based on the same thing, which is the base damage, stuff from your spell, weapon, whatever, plus any flat damage from your gear or whatever else you might have, auras, etc. So, when all damage can poison, that of course expands your capability of poisoning from just physical and chaos to those two plus all three elements as well. However, grinding gear games is a little bit like your annoying middle school teacher, such that when you ask them, can I poison with all damage? And they say, I don't know, can you? You still need poison chance, is the takeaway there. Just because you can poison with all damage doesn't mean you will poison with all damage. It still rolls your normal poison chance, and therefore on a poison build, you want to make sure that's getting up to 100% by whatever means you prefer to do that. Now, here's where it gets slightly trickier. I've got no passives allocated, one skill penance brand with no links, no items equipped, etc. I've given myself all damage can poison and 100% chance of poison in my POB configuration here. And I've specifically chosen Penance Brand because it has split damage. So, with all damage can poison, it's not a problem that I'm converting 50% of my physical damage to lightning. All of the damage I deal will affect the entirety of the poison. As opposed to without the node, only 50% of the damage I dealt would be factored into the poison damage. However, it does change which damage I want to scale in order to scale my poison damage. So, in this case, I'm dealing split physical and lightning damage. And poison itself deals chaos damage. So chaos damage will always be 100% effective, regardless by default, unless there's some unique interaction that causes your chaos to deal a different kind of damage. Currently, there's a unique that causes enemies to take damage of different types from ailments, but I don't think there's any that changes the damage of the ailment itself. So, for the sake of this example, 100% of poison damage is chaos damage. So if I look over here, my single poison DPS base is 481. If I take 10% increased chaos damage, it becomes 529. And I'm just commenting and uncommenting these modifiers so they have an effect. So up to 529 with 10% increased chaos damage. Well, I have split physical and lightning damage. So if I get 10% increased physical damage, what kind of impact does that have on my chaos damage or poison damage at the end result? The exact same. 529 from 10% increased physical and 10% increased chaos damage. Now, what if I took 10% lightning damage instead? I'm dealing lightning damage too. I can scale lightning damage. Lightning damage will increase my poison damage so long as I'm poisoning with lightning damage. But that only takes me up to 505 poison DPS. So why is that? That's because poison and ailments in general consider the type of damage that the ailment itself does and the type of damage that it was sourced from at every step along the way. So I can scale chaos damage at 100% effectiveness, physical damage at 100% effectiveness, because all of my base damage through Penance Brand is physical damage, and I can scale lightning damage at 50% effectiveness, because half of my final damage is lightning. And we can see that here. 481 to 505 is plus 24 DPS, and 505 to 529 is another 24. So 10% lightning is half as much as 10% physical, because again, it's got halved effectiveness as a result of me only dealing 50% lightning damage. Okay, so just to prove my point here, I can convert the rest of my physical damage to lightning. That has some weird, probably rounding effect on the poison DPS in POB, but it's the same regardless. And now if I take 10% lightning damage, you can see I'm up to 529, but also that the physical damage still has an effect because, again, the base source damage is lightning, or is physical, sorry. A lot of opportunities to mess up this explanation here. And just to showcase again that these are summed together, I'm going to remove the remaining lightning conversion. I'm going to take 10% lightning, physical, and chaos damage for a total of 601 single target, or single poison DPS. I'm going to take these back. 25% increased damage is again 601 because of the halved lightning effectiveness. Whereas if I took these three individually with the extra conversion, it would be a little bit extra. That's it for this video. It probably ran a little long given the nature of the explanation, but I hope this helps in your consideration of not just needing to get poison chance, but your theory crafting in general, what kind of damage you want to scale, anything of that nature. Let me know what you thought about the video down below, and let me know if there are any other topics you want me to cover. Catch you next time. Peace, and good luck in the new league.